need to look at the agreement and find the money to right the situation, so that the taxpayers don't pay for it and the residents don't pay for it, because it's neither of their fault.
So in a preliminary discussion with the state, I was told that there is a construction budget allocated for this project. And there's a line item for each individual construction phase. And if we change this ACO agreement, the town of Charlton is gonna have to pay the difference from what that line item is budgeted for now. That's what I was told over the phone. So that's the seriousness behind that. So, I don't know, because my thought was, well, if there's a line item and it's, X amount of dollars to decommission the wells and, we don't get above it, it'd be hard pressed, this thing hasn't gone out to bid yet, they'd be hard pressed to say, well, it went over budget here, budget there. The explanation was, no, there's a line item, and if it goes over that, Charlton has to pay.
Well, who agreed to this deal without having all the facts?
I don't know if the ACO was signed.
Robin and the selectman, John McGrath, was in on it.
Who was that? I couldn't hear what you said.
The selectman approved and Robin Craver.
Without-
ACO.
Why would you approve an agreement when you don't know what all the costs are involved? That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
Were you at the meeting, Jim?
Well, there were numerous meetings. I was on a couple with Chris McClure, but certainly I wasn't in on that.
It should have never went through.
No,
But it's not, and this was something that was brought up by Marty Super during it, and he seemed adamant that it was okay, and it's kind of would not cause, but I'm saying if stone's not gonna work, then why do the stone, pull the pump, decommission it from the house? If you're gonna go for all that and the stones, and because I called Charlton, well, I think I spoke to you. And, because I'm not, like Matt said, I'm not a professional well decommissioner, certainly we go by the regs, but this was a special dispensation that was agreed upon, but certainly I yield to the, our regs, what they say. But certainly, if putting stone in there, you say is not gonna help it at all, then why are we doing the stone?
Well,
Why are we doing?
right now, they don't have the money to do they're squealing because they don't have the money to do the proper abandonment now. So how are they gonna squeal when they have to extend the water lines to another 100 houses because they didn't do these things the first time? Not only they're gonna have to plug another 100 wells, but they're gonna have to pay to run the water line another 2 miles or whatever. So I just don't understand why you would take a shortcut in the beginning. I mean, this is a shortcut. This is a ridiculous, it's a ridiculous thing, and I can't even believe that the state is on board with this. I can't believe it.
They say they wanna do the pea stone because it's cheaper. It's probably not gonna be in the long run if you did it. Now, not all these wells are in the front yard, right next to the end of the driveway. You just can't take a dump truck back up to this well with an asphalt chute and wing the gate open and let the pea stone fall in. It's gonna go for about 3 seconds and it's gonna be bridged. You need to sit there with a 5-gallon pail and you need to sprinkle this stuff in there and let it fall to the bottom. I mean, it's labor intensive. Some of these wells are in the front yard, easy to get to. Some of these other wells, the other ones, they're down, back, over the bank. And how are you gonna get, some of the wells are 600 feet deep. So you're gonna get 7 yards of pea stone in 5-gallon pails down around over a cliff.
It's easy
down
to
below.
get
It's easy to get the hose, the grout line down there and pump it
And
full
pump it full
of
of rubber.
cement.
Right, and just push it right through.
And push
The
it
only
right
way
through.
to do it.
It's all labor intensive, but you're gonna,
That's
there's
why they got
no,
the pump trucks for.
well,
Concrete
I mean,
pump
well,
trucks.
you guys are saying concrete, you should take that word out of the
It's not- it's
vocabulary, because it's not,
cement, yeah.
there is no aggregate, it's neat cement, it's cement and water, no aggregate.
To answer the question, this is the official ACO?
Yeah.
Okay. Under the consented by the town of Charlton, the only signature that I am seeing is our town administrator, Robin. It's the only line item, it's the only signature. I don't see anything from John McGrath on it.
No, I'm saying John McGrath was in the room with us
Okay.
when the discussion was, I don't know if Rob, I don't know when it was signed. I only got a copy of it a couple, maybe a month and a half ago.
This was signed back in April of 2017.
But I certainly, the idea was not to have any costs come back to the town of Charlton. And remember, the board does not have a line item to expenditure of cash for this, you'd have to go before we'd have to go before the selectmen.
John?
I never got the cross-contamination possibility with the pea stone. But my comments are, nobody's being mandated to close their well. Some people can opt to keep them open, maintaining the cross-contamination concern anyway. The DEP may keep some of our wells open for monitoring, possible migration of the contamination, keeping the cross-contamination concern open. The monitoring wells at the landfill are going nowhere, cross-contaminating everything around. So if contamination is going to spread, it's going to be from the source, which is at the landfill, we believe, migrating out. 10 schoolhouses only testing one address. No one else within 500 feet of that address or any on Berry or from Mars has expanded in 3 years. With all of our wells open, with possible cross-contamination now as well. The pea stone will be better than leaving it open like it is now. So I see it, for me, as a homeowner in this zone, I could take either one and it's not gonna bother me which one it is, because I already know the reality of, you can't tell me which way the water flows, because Casella will tell you that. They're gonna tell you, it's not flowing towards us. And we have no real knowledge that the cross-contamination is a concern with pea stone. I mean, I could definitely see it being more on the possibility of pea stone over concrete, but the reality of it is, I don't know if it would be.
Willie?
I think we should go with our rigs.
John, you have any comments?
I'm with you, well, I don't know where you're leaning, but I'm with Willie. I think the concrete, and after hearing Mr. Sylvestre, it sounds like the right thing to do. I don't think the homeowner should have to pay a dime. I don't think the town should have to pay either. I don't know the legal ramifications of this, but.
They didn't do it.
Somebody put the horse before the cart.
Right,
Casella.
yeah.
I mean, if I could, it's just the other side of it, is you have, and these policies and regulations were put in with stakeholders from the Well Drillers Association. So I think that, making a statement, this is from input from state agencies, engineers, the Well Drillers Association, and everybody, that's involved with this, these are the regulations that are used throughout the state. There are communities, of course, you can put anything into your own bylaws that would be more restrictive. Obviously, you have that ability. But again, this isn't something that they're throwing, somebody somewhere is just throwing, caution into the wind and coming up with this. This is regulated by Department of Environmental Protection, and that's their main, and this is, we're looking at an area that is contaminated. So I don't think that they're looking at this in a strictly monetary value, from what people are saying. I think that they've had people at that level looking at it, and I'm sure there's some culpability even with, I know Mobile Exxon, they're the type that they don't want to worry about anything. So fill it with cement. Even if you told them you didn't have to, they're going to do it. But whether or not another scientist or somebody else looked at it and said there's really no need for you to do it, because this is just, the US EPA, everybody's looked at this. That's just, from a scientist, that's the information that I have to put out. It's not strictly a monetary. I know you've been doing one thing, for the same way since the beginning. That doesn't necessarily always mean that's the best way to do it, but this is based on science and an input from other agencies. And that's kind of, as a scientist, I kind of have to put that out there. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form that someone is looking at this just from a dollar value, because Pete's right. It's not going to be. It may be that you have to put in cement. They're not going to just go in and, there's going to be certain circumstances that you're not going to be able to leave the stone in there or the clean material in there. It's going to be a different way to do it. This just gives them the ability to review that in that manner. But
Actually, the homeowners shouldn't pay for it, the town shouldn't pay for it, the seller's problem. I think we should have a meeting with them, have them do it.
Well,
They're the ones that,
Yeah.
the stage we're at,
I
Kathleen?
just had a quick question. Right now, who's responsible to pay for the decommissioning of the well?
At this point, Chris, you probably know better, and Jim, you know better. I believe this is funded by the state of Massachusetts, as well as Casella, as well as the town of Southbridge. there's a tri-community paying on that.
So, okay, so if those three entities are paying for the decommissioning of the wells, right now it's not going on Charlton or the homeowner. So why wouldn't it be assumed that those three entities would, is it because the ACU is already signed or?
The problem that we're facing today is that the ACO is signed. So that's an agreement
Okay.
that those three entities, as well as the town of Charlton, have agreed upon. And what it is there's a number for decommissioning of the wells. And and I want to clarify, because they're saying if we change the rules, but we're not changing our rules, we're trying to maintain the rules that we had in play. But if we change the rules of this ACO, and it goes above the construction line item that they have in place now, the burden is now gonna come back on this town. Be it town meeting for a vote, which I don't know about how that all plays out, or the town of Charlton's gonna have to pay for the difference.
Well, if the selectmen didn't sign it, why would it be in effect? Is there the final?
I don't know
I think they
about,
authorized Robin to sign it, but
yeah, Kathleen, you would know more about that stuff than me, because you've been there for years on that, but all I could tell you is on the signature page, to me, it looks like there was one line item consented to the town of Charlton. And Robin signed it on the town of Charlton's behalf.
So the selectmen may have taken a vote to allow her to sign it. but
Correct.
That would, you'd have to make sure that if that didn't happen, then it's not
Binding.
binding.
Is it?
So, just to back up why we're in this bind, meaning the Board of Health, is as these talks were going on, our board was not a part of it. We didn't know anything about it. Now, Jim, I know you went to a couple of, you went to 2 of several meetings.
I went to a few with Chris. I mean, with, there was 3 of us in the room, I believe, and a couple on, there was a lot of people on conference call. And I think there was a discussion of, by Marty Suberg, I think brought it up along with Mary Jude, that they would like to go with the crushed stone and the concrete, which is acceptable in a good way, that would meet theirs. And I think we're just, you know, as it progressed, we're saying, yeah, you know, it was just a discussion. In the end, it was through and done and designed, but I don't think it was, you know, it was a general discussion that day. I think we looked at it, that Marty said that the DEP would be more than satisfied to get these people their municipal water. And, you know, a lot of these wells are not contaminated. There's very few that are in that contaminated level. And there are some people choosing not even to decommission wells. They're not mandatory. You don't have to tie in. There are a lot of homes that have not chosen to tie in. As John said, they're still gonna have the well there, and it's not decommissioned at all.
Well, if the well is taken out of service, there are rules and regulations that are gonna force them people to plug those wells. I don't wanna argue with you, but
I'm not here to argue.
they're not, the state is not big on you taking a well out of service and letting it sit idle.
No, I'm talking about, they're not gonna tie into the water, they're not part of the program, and they're keeping that well.
No, but what I just understood you to say was, there are some that are gonna, that may choose to hook up, but.
No, that's not allowed. No, you misunderstood me. I'm saying there's some people
Okay.
that are in that area that have been offered water.
I thought that's what you said.
No. There are people in that area that have been offered it and said no,
Okay.
blatantly.
All right.
But if you're gonna accept taxpayer dollars, and, Casella's paying for this, not the town of Southbridge. Town of Southbridge borrowed and bonded the money. Casella's reimbursing the town of Southbridge, so Southbridge is not paying either. But if you choose and you did not sign a consent form to tie in, then you keep your well and you're not part of that, but you're not getting connected. But if you connect in, you have to decommission your well.
I misunderstood what you said.
There's no choice in that.
I want to clarify that, because my understanding was if you took the free tie-in,
Yeah.
you were mandated to decommission your well. But if you paid out of your own pocket for the tie-in, you could keep your own well for irrigation or fill in the pools.
Yes.
That is correct. But
That's,
if you choose the free water line with a connect,
Right.
you were decommissioning, period.
so, potentially what happens is somebody says, I'll pay for my own tie-in, I'm gonna keep my own artesian well for irrigation, and then don't irrigate. I mean, it leaves the potential for a stagnant well, you know?
Well,
But there's no there's no mechanism. Russ?
Why are you guys struggling with the problem so much when it's not really yours? And just leave the burden on whomever is trying to throw it on you guys. You guys have policies and procedures, and there it is, stick with them. And then say, you know, from here, it's not your job to figure out the cost issue of this at all. Why should it be? You didn't present the problem, why should you figure it out?
And Matt, if I could just add on to that, if the Board of Selectmen or any other agency in this town were to pass a rule or pass a policy or sign something, and then the Board of Health found out about it and it was against their health regulations, it's null and void because you guys are the final authority on health. And they, you know, they didn't consult you, it's their bad, you know, you're the final authority and they can't do something that's unhealthy for the citizens of Charlton. And you know about it, it's on you to stop it.
Yeah, my personal struggle with this is in speaking with DEP, they don't want to do anything unhealthy either. So that's not, and Chris, you touched on that. They're not trying to save a buck for the sake of saving a buck. They believe that the P-stone method is acceptable. So,
well,
go ahead.
I'm not gonna, there's no sense going over it and over it and over it, but anybody that would say that that is a viable option really shouldn't be making the decision, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, let me ask Willie, do you have any thoughts to this, or do you want more time to do your own research? Are you ready to make a decision, or what do you think?
Well, I think that they shouldn't put stone in there. They should yank the pump, put the, not concrete,
Put the pipe.
Cement.
yeah, neat cement.
and put the cement in and do it right. We don't care about the cost, we care about the health. This board here.
Yep. John, do you want more time to do some of your own research, or do you have a...
I'm in agreement with what Willie said and kind of what Mr. Seveska said. I'm concerned about cross-contamination down the road. I think we've seen it with ExxonMobil, it took 20 or 30 years to get to the schools, you know, a mile a year, whatever. I can only see this plume potentially getting bigger down there around H foot and beyond. I don't think it's in the best interest of anybody to use the P-stone. I would say that we should at least try to get the ball rolling, get everybody, if we're in agreement, to get everybody to say, hey, here's what the board says, we're not gonna approve this, unless it's just the concrete. And see what happens. You know, somebody can go off and do a cost study or whatever, they can push back, but right now, that's the way I feel.
Jim?
I think that ultimately the goal was the state would facilitate is to quickly get municipal water to these residents of Ashford Road. Before Casella moved and closed, they took $5 million of state money, put it in, and I think ultimately they're all gonna be able to drink their water now, and that was the big goal.
Correct.
And I think that that is the ultimate goal, and that's what I'm happy for, is that this was facilitated, they're gonna get their water, and they're not gonna use their wells. How we come up with it, and we can't change the ACO, but certainly we can, if the board stands by what the decision of that is, then as Mary Jude sent me a letter today, and she spoke with you, then the bill would come back to the town of Charlton. So that's something we have to take into consideration. How much? They said $500,000 additional monies. So that would come back to the taxpayer also. So you have to take that into, the risk for reward, and I'm not advocating that, because I'm not a well driller, and I respect these guys. I called him right away and said, you know, hey, this is what's going on. And he explained to me that, you know, this is the best way to do it. But also the best thing to do is to make sure we get them connected to municipal water. And as Casella said, those wells are still open up there. They're gonna be open for the next 50 years, and where that contamination goes or whatever. And I think that we also have taken the fact that the board can enforce that, and I facilitate the board, you're the bosses here, but also if the money has to be approved from somewhere, and they're already, if you look at the budget, as you were at the meeting, it's already over.
Yeah, no.
The budget's already over by almost 400,000, so.
And that water line's gonna be over $1 million by the time they're done. That whole loop is all ledge.
Yeah,
They're
it
gonna they're gonna ounce of dirt over there, so whatever
And
they quote,
they
it's
actually
gonna be so far
Joe,
over.
right.
The most
This is-
money in
this
here is
a-
full
this is
ledge.
nothing.
The most money, here, wanna take a look at, it's in here, but
It's
it's just there, it's public information. But certainly, I'm advocating, and I think the best way to decommission a well is according to our regulations, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But, you know, attending a few meetings apart, I had no decision in the fact of how they were decommissioned. Those plans came out, and we just saw them, and it was there. So, as far as, you know, I'm just happy for the residents of H Road, Illinois, that they are
I am
going to
too.
get their water. And ultimately, that was the goal of the DEP
So how
also.
do you feel about the residents that are?
No, and that's
Out-
right, I respect
a little
that.
bit
That's
beyond
why they
that.
should,
Beyond.
but we need to come to a conclusion of, is someone gonna approve this money, where is it gonna come from? Because we can enforce the Board of Health rules and regulations, but we don't have a line item that will allow us to do that. So we need to find a direction of, do we meet with the selectmen? And I'm sure the selectmen approved for Robert to sign
I'm
this.
sure they did.
So,
I want to ask a question, and this is for you two guys, and I'm not asking for a direct number, I'm just kind of for a yes or a no. So, in this, and keep in mind, this job is prevailing wages, okay? In this line item for the construction cost, it says decommissioning of wells, the anticipated dollar value is $5.50 a linear foot.
no.
Does that seem a reasonable cost?
No.
You can't buy the pipe to put in
It's
the
less than,
water.
it's less than half.
That's nowhere near.
No, no.
That's-
Ain't even close.
That's nowhere near a reasonable
And
figure.
if you're gonna pay the prevailing wage, you're probably talking $14, $15 a foot.
So, this line item is
Minimum.
already behind the ball before it's even begun, potentially, if what,
No, that's, you don't, not even, that's
not gonna
not even,
happen.
not even close. Prevailing wage for pump operators like $45 an hour. Laborers are 36 or 38. Ain't nowhere near. I don't know where that number come from,
I
it ain't
did
even
speak
close.
to Cassandra Larshow, was the, you know, lead on the project. She said that when she sent out estimates of what the cost may be, they didn't ask for stone, they asked for concrete. So they're trying to get the consensus of where, and she had bids anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000 depending on the depth of the well,
per well.
per well. So I think they're already behind on,
And what-
$5 a foot, I don't know.
And what happens now is if this board goes above the ACO, the taxpayers are gonna be burdened with something that is already behind the ball to begin with, which isn't fair to the
no,
taxpayers
I-
either.
But
you're right.
you gotta agree with what Russ said. This isn't your problem.
No, I
It
understand.
ain't anybody's problem that's sitting at this table right now. It's somebody else's problem.
we should let them
Let them deal with it.
deal with it.
That's right.
But ultimately, it's gonna be every taxpayer in this room's problem.
Well,
No, hopefully not.
If-
It's
no,
good.
you would hope not.
Right.
But ultimately, if it's a $500,000 price tag that you're gonna pay now, you're gonna save yourself 10 million within the next 20 years. So.
Well, not saving the 10 million either, but if
Is
there's all those
No, I
residents
said
that.
You're gonna save, you know,
Yeah, no,
you're gonna balk at 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, but what the cost of doing this the wrong way is gonna come back, it's gonna be millions and millions, and it's gonna be an ongoing nightmare, you
and
know?
I feel it's not so much the cost though of it is how many people get contaminated water and drink it.
Well, this is what I'm trying to
That's
say, I
what-
mean,
that's what our
it's just
concern
gonna
is.
snowball, there's gonna be another bunch of wells that have a problem. Not to say you could plug these with cement, right, and do it the right, do the best you can possibly do, and it still can spread.
Right.
But you
Doesn't
got-
50% of that money come from the state ultimately in that agreement?
I don't know what the agreement was as far as chopping it up, I
I'm
don't know.
pretty sure a large percentage.
No,
of that
5 million
money
came
comes
from the
directly
state.
From the state.
And $5 million came from a bond that Southbridge borrowed and that Casella's reimbursing. no costs were gonna, Charlton didn't want to incur any costs to the residents or to the taxpayers.
Holding Casella's feet to the fire in this situation may not work, but the state, it's a surefire answer.
You wanna make a vote?
Yeah, I really do.
And you,
They should have, the selectmen never should have, they should have worked with us before they signed that.
Yep.
Store.
so, do you,
I think we should do it the right way.
you wanna stick by the, make a motion that,
This is the Board of Health, it's a health situation. It ain't the money, I'm a taxpayer, I'm gonna pay as much as anybody else.
Yep.
I have plenty of houses and stuff, you do, we all do.
No,
But we gotta look at the health way of doing it,
mhm.
I think.
And the contamination,
Right,
bottom line, it's contamination of the environment and everything.
right.
Someone wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that we stick with the current regulations that do not allow peat stone for capping or decommissioning a well. And that we instead go with the cement,
Neat cement.
neat cement, sorry. I'll get it by the end of tonight.
I think, if I may, I think we have to, if you're gonna make a motion for that, you have to stick to our regulations, and we have to change them.
Right, I'm sorry.
Well, our regulations say cement?
Yeah, well, our regulations
I think the
crossed out
town, I think the
Benton.
town regs say needs cement.
It says needs cement, but if we, in our regulations, we have like 4 copies of our regulations, which need to be cleaned up anyway, as far as, because Bentonite was crossed out, and there's just a signature there, I can't make out whose signature it
It was
is.
Lonnie said no bentonite.
No
Signed
Bentonite,
it.
so, and I
That
think
was
that
after
was,
the there was a, we came to
Yeah, I
the meeting
remember.
and talked about
Yep.
this a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And that's what we get out of it, no bentonite.
but I think in order to clean those up, we need to discuss about getting one hard copy that's approved by the board and certified. That way, we don't have 4 different copies, but handwritten changes to our well regs aren't acceptable.
Right.
So, for me, of all the people in the past that have had to follow the rules, it's hard to, it's hard to make an allowance here, an exception there, it doesn't seem like it's right, and then going down the road, we're gonna open up a can of worms with the potential, anybody. Well, we let them do it, and how can, anyways, so we had a motion on the floor to decommission the wells as the Board of Health regulations state with the cement. We have done away with that concrete slab. Is there a second on that?
There's a second on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote carries unanimous, 3-0. That's where we're at.
What's your next step?
I know we're gonna have to talk to Robin, Selectmen, I know that there's that committee for the, what is it, the 95% tile?
It'll be 90% the next meeting, or 26, I believe it is.
So we're gonna have to bring it back to that team and let them know what this board's looking for. Now that we've done that and we've said our piece, my question is, can the state override us?
Yeah.
So if the state comes back and says, we're overriding it,
Because it's a special dispensation, because Southbridge already fought it, because they didn't want to change from copper to plastic, and they lost. So all those lines that go to the house that were gonna be copper, which brought the cost up by 300,000-400,000, were cut out, and the regulations didn't apply. And that was, you were at the meeting, that was from, Heather Blake
Yep.
himself, so.
That's different, that ain't a hazard.
Well,
not
no,
public.
It's
Not a
feeding
health
water, it's feeding water.
Yeah,
It's
but
a-
So they changed,
They
they
changed.
changed it from copper back to plastic.
Yeah.
But they dug every lateral in the town of Charlton up and switched it over to copper. Now they're going
I
back
know,
again.
I agree. I know, I understand. I
Both of them
don't
can-
write the rule, and that was at the meeting, Heather Blakely was not for it, neither was the water.
What a waste.
But they made them go with plastic instead of copper, and
what
they
a
dug
waste.
all those up.
They dug
and
up
made
all
them
of Route
change it.
20, all of Main Street, every water main that they put in, and they changed all the laterals to
That's not
copper.
right.
No, they did not. They allowed them to use what was installed. all the plastic. that
Yeah,
was-
because Chris, you would have been there, right?
Nobody
Yeah,
was
yeah,
tied
yeah.
on to it.
I've been involved with every connection. Every connection that was plastic, they did not make them dig it up.
I'm talking the ones that they put in from the main to the houses that were never used. They dug them all up and swapped them over to copper.
From the services that were installed, from the mains to the service
From the main
lines.
to the edge, from the service lines, they,
Yeah.
they left them, they dug them
Yeah.
all up and changed them. Right.
So, we're gonna have to do some notification. I don't know who's involved in this. I know it's not our problem and whoever's problem it is, but somehow I certainly feel like it's our problem, so.
We did what we thought was right. I think.
At the end of the day, it's not who it is, it's what it is. And this board has always done its best to look out for public health and safety to the best of our ability.
John Gossett talked.
John?
Can I tell the group this won't impact the timeline for the project, or it might?
I don't think it has anything to do with that timeline, but if they wanna put it on us, they can, but I don't, that's the last step, is the decommissioning.
Right.
It doesn't jam up anything.
They're talking like 6 months minimum
Year.
before they would,
Minimum.
yeah.
They get a lot of blasting, like you said, a lot of ledge.
I think they gotta,
There's another good thing. Now you're gonna go over there and start blasting.
They're gonna open up
They
everything.
open everything up. You want that pea stone in there? Now you got leach fields. Everybody, Gonzo, you know?
okay. Well, I definitely wanna thank both you guys for coming in
Thank you.
and putting in your 2 cents. Chris, thank you very
Sure.
much for putting in your knowledge, and
Thank you.
everybody that commented, thank you.
Chris?
Appreciate it.
Steve?
Pete, sorry.
That's all right.
Steve?
Hey, man.
Knowledge goes a long way.
Yes.
Sometimes you can't quite see it all.
So their cost estimate to decommission all the wells is $170,000 for all the wells up there.
No, I think it's 300.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going by this, 161,000.
I have, but I
Going off
think
that
this, I
estimate.
was looking for the line item here.
It's right here, $5.50 a foot.
29,260 feet.
You know where you upgrade
Decommissioned wells, $160,000.
I believe it's 300,000
Okay.
in there, but I'm not, I'm trying to find it, I can't find it, but that's what was discussed with Cassandra and Larshow. They have it in there, but certainly, I think every well should be, there may be situations where they wouldn't be able to use stone anyway, that they were talking, they would have to. But Chris, maybe you can find it.
Yeah, so this is actually the estimate you see in the, attached to the ACOP. This was a preliminary, this is based upon concept, so this is way back
Okay,
when.
all right.
This hasn't
Yeah.
been refined at all, so.
This is,
Yeah, the design, their design,
I find it.
they basically curtailed their design down to being a little bit more.
Okay.
Accurate. I'll let you know.
I don't know who brought the time before, we figured $5 a month.
This will probably start up on Warren's Nest, huh?
Yep. What, I'll tell you what.
All right. So DEP's been adamant that the project will go forward as planned, and any more costs will be.
The expense of the town of Charlton.
expense of the town of Charlton.
I don't know how they're gonna hash that out, because,
If you don't mind.
sure.
So item number 27, deactivation of residential water well supplies, assume a depth of 450. So they have 480,000.
That's more than
Yeah,
that's-
yeah. And again, these, you don't know until we're at the point where the design gets approved. It's in front of the DEP for their approval. Once that happens, then it goes out to bid. And then at that point in time, they start evaluating the real costs, because everything now is just, it's what we call a engineer's opinion of probable cost. We take the values that we know based upon all the projects that we've done before and use averages based upon what's happened and then come up with an estimate, which we hope that isn't.
So 78 wells, do you think that's adequate? Some of those are 600 feet deep, though.
They're
The
not-
average is 418 feet.
This $6,000 a well they assume. So what they have to assume also is that somebody's gonna, these contracts, whoever wins, is gonna go out and look for individuals that are gonna be competitive for. Yeah, that's just the market.
Cheaper labor
Right.
and all that. They're going by union, that and,
And some well
Should be
companies
done on behalf.
are family-owned companies, they don't need to pay prevailing wage. If the family's working on it, they just put in a rate that they can get the job done for and make a good living at it, right? So that's what you hope for,
So
somebody
you
comes
don't
in
have
like that.
to, this don't have to
So-
be done by.
In reality, okay, because this board, you know, we're not trying to stop the project, we're not trying to spend money for no reason. And I guess really, we're kind of hung up on the money a little bit, because it's no doubt this board wants to go with the cement, but we don't want the taxpayers to have to pay with. But in the updated bid-based schedule that I just was handed, right? So it shows, and it's an average, but the assumed depth of 450 feet, right? So that comes up to $13.50 a foot, not the $5.50.
Right.
So if these guys are saying that the concrete's gonna be $14 a foot,
Yeah.
you know, this might be all for nothing, and there might not be a big difference whatsoever.
I think that Cassandra LaRochelle was talking that, you know, I think they're gonna do what they have to do. And if it comes to this, it may all work out, because they're gonna be competitive bidding out there.
Yeah.
And I think if someone, like you said, wants that job, I think we could stay within the confines of that and still follow the Charlton Board of Health regulation.
I don't see it costing the taxpayers $500,000 though. When you take a good look at it right now, it shows that it's about $13.50 a foot.
John Jordan.
John, please.
And I deal with public bid docs all the time and bidding public jobs with schools. I think the most important thing to me would be to make sure, after it goes through the DEP, that cement is listed in the bid docs, not as a change order after the fact for
Right.
Keystone, because there's always tremendous overhead associated with any change orders.
Mhm.
So I think the job, if possible, should get bid with cement in the documents for the bid. And there should be a line item for that on the bid document, so that you can see what the bid came in at after you see what they've allotted for it. So you know the delta, if there is one.
Yeah, I agree with you, 100%.
So it shouldn't go out as P-stone and then the change order after the fact to
Yeah,
change it.
no, change orders are dollar bills,
Yeah.
and it should be in the spec originally.
So the priority would be, because it's still in the 75 to 100%.